smile that you just did. Like, I just got that. Such an unhinged episode.
Yes. Welcome to the party. It's a celebration of life.
Nina was doing like this action before, so we were like, welcome to the Daily Humans podcast. I'm Ashley.
I'm Nina. Sorry. Why am I always off beat?
This happened last time as well.
Yeah.
It's just okay. This is what it is to be recording on different sides of the world.
Yeah.
Trying to come together as one.
We just rock, paper, scissors who was going to do the intro, so it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're like, rock. So I'm like, rock, and then she's like,
Yeah.
2 second delay, rock, paper, scissors. It's such a delay, scissors. And I'm like, there, scissors. And she's like, scissors.
Well, we both pulled a rock the second time around, and I was just like, you know what, I'll forfeit. Ashley, you start the episode, and I'll just do the next one. Oh.
When you get off the plane, when you come to Australia, right? When you come out and I see you, just rock, paper, scissors it when we see each other.
Okay. Yeah.
Just to be able to have it in the same time, like where we're together physically.
Absolutely.
We've got so many plans. There's so many things that we're going to do once you come here. Like the moment that you step out and I see you, there was something else that I said we're going to do. I can't remember what it was though. Was it that we were going to...
A fairy like ball thing? Was that the thing? The celestial ball. That's what it was called. That's what you mentioned last time.
Mm. Yes, the celestial ball.
I've been looking for dresses, by the way. Oh, at the airport. Oh, I think we wanted to do like t-shirts. Yes, t-shirts.
Right.
And then we wanted to body slam each other to the floor. That's what it was.
That's right. I remember that. Good job remembering, my friend.
Yeah, no worries.
Trying to put her luggage aside though, because that's gonna hurt if I get her luggage first and then get her.
We should rock, paper, scissors, who slams who to the floor first. Yeah.
True. That's such a good idea. Run up to you, slow motion, and we could stop. Rock, paper, scissors.
Oh, it's going to be an amazing time. I'm so excited for it, honestly.
You're arrested on your first day.
Yeah. So this is what Australian prison is like. Wow.
Can I have some water? Do you have some water? You want some water, Nina?
Some water?
Yes. Water.
Oh.
I don't think we're as strict as what I've heard American airports, especially LA. I've heard it's very, very scary. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I've never been afraid coming from Bali back home and going through the security and stuff. I've never been like, whoa. But I've heard that getting off the plane in LA, going through the airport is so anxiety.
Yeah. I would even agree with Germany on that as well. I think when I came back the beginning of this year from a trip, I was a little bit nervous because I was like, okay, it's been a while since I've been at the airports here in Germany. What is it going to be like? And they definitely had a lot more security, but still everybody was very calm, very, peaceful. Nobody really was like, are you sure you packed your bag by yourself? It's like, no, sir. Is there a bomb in my bag? I don't know. I think I didn't leave my bag unattended. I think it's been with me this entire time, but yeah. But yeah, it's definitely a lot more intense in America, which is going to be interesting whenever I do go back to visit some friends and stuff later on. I'm definitely a little bit nervous about it.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I just don't know. I said to Nina, I think 2 days ago, I was like, I don't know how you did it traveling by yourself. The thought of it. I know people would say to me, you got to try it, you got to experience it, you won't regret it. I get all that, but still, the thought, I can't even do it here, people. I can't even do it here. How am I going to do it in another country?
I
I feel
think it
safer with
depends.
someone else.
Yes, I think it depends on where you go. And if you know people there, that would be like my number one advice for anybody is like have friends where you go. So you have somebody you can go to just in case something happens or you need help. But I would even agree with you, Ash. Like I sometimes like I was thinking about it a couple weeks ago. It's like, should I take a little like road trip somewhere or go on a train somewhere in Germany, maybe to my hometown? I was like, but it's so scary. There's so many scary people. Like, but it's like I just went and flew across the world. Like, why is this such a big deal? But I think it just depends on where you go. You know, the more you know about a location, sometimes it can make you more fearful because and depending on where you are in the world, I feel like that's also a big thing. I don't know if this is true. I've heard Australia can have a little bit of like sketchy people, sketchy places, areas, things like that. So I
Oh,
think
definitely.
just from stories I've heard like I have to say this. I don't know if these are true, but sometimes to go to sleep at night, I listen to like creepy true stories from people, and traveling was one of them. And every single time it's in Australia, every single time. So I'm like, oh, I don't know, Ash. I wouldn't go around alone as well, especially as a woman. You know, we have to be, unfortunately, a lot more mindful of our location and situation. And
Mm.
yeah, but I won't get into that. We won't get into the plight of being a woman in this world yet again.
Oh, we definitely should because Australia definitely has their unsafe
Yeah,
spaces,
yeah,
and people don't believe that we do, but also they wouldn't believe that certain places are capable of being unsafe, but they definitely are. They
mm,
definitely are. You can ask my psychologist;
yeah,
he'll tell you.
yeah,
Yeah, of course, we have our sketchy people. We definitely do. We have our unsafe suburbs that a lot of people you just really can't walk around alone.
yeah,
And I think that definitely contributes to not really wanting to go around a lot of places alone. But I'm aware of the suburbs that are known to be dangerous. But this is the thing, right? You could know, but you don't actually fully know, you know,
yeah.
until you go to a suburb yourself. Like everyone can make assumptions and stuff like that. But until either you have an experience there, like, I didn't know that going for a hike by myself would be a dangerous thing. It's always some projecting mofo that as long as they're around, the suburbs aren't safe.
Yeah,
The wilderness isn't safe. As long as
right.
they're around, that's just yeah. But that story definitely will be for another time. But
Yes, we
Australia,
have many stories.
oh, uh, our trauma runs deep, friends, deep, deeper than
Many
the
facets of
ocean.
life.
27 years of lovely stories. 8 years in therapy, and I'm Nina's therapist. So
Mm. We're each other's therapists, which I think is a beautiful thing sometimes, you know.
yeah,
Oh,
yes, we know how to boundary it, and we know where
mhm.
to draw the line, but we're there for each other, and that's the main thing.
Yeah. Speaking
Definitely.
of being 27, we are approaching our 28th year of life. Ashley, her birthday is at the end of this month. I wanted to say next month, but I'm like, oh my gosh, it's already March. Um, I feel like
I know
February
it is.
lasted forever.
February felt never ending, yet it's a
Yeah.
short month.
Yep.
Yeah, I
And
know.
yet,
I know. In your mind, you're like, it couldn't have ended like quicker. You know.
what are we? We're in a leap year or something like that. So it's only 29 days in February, but it still felt like 31. So it makes no
How
difference.
old do you feel in leap year age? How old do you feel?
Oh, um, 16, of course. 11 years younger. That's fine. How about you?
I'd probably say 21.
Mm, yes, 21 looks good on you. Always has.
Thank you.
I guess we both have those aspects within ourselves. Like there's the 80-year-old or the 60-year-old. In your case, for me, it's 80. So I have 20 years on you all of a sudden, and then the teen
Oh my
younger
God.
self.
She 80. All right. Well, I feel 90.
Well, then I feel
That whole
91.5.
comparison thing.
Roll up the sleeves, put the hair back, take the earrings out. Let's go to war.
92. 92.
Ooh. Well, that's fine. You can win the game.
No. No. Don't make me win. Drum roll, friends. 99.9.
Wow. Almost at 100%. Almost at 100.
I didn't want to go 100. I don't want a letter from the king. So 99.9. Lock me
Yeah.
in.
Okay. Well, I don't want to be 100. So you get to have that title.
Why does it not feel like a win?
Oh, but yeah, anyway, we're in March now, and Ashley's beautiful birthday is approaching.
I don't know. This age feels something more than turning 26 and 27. Can you agree with that yourself? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
There's something about it that feels turning 25 for us it kind of felt, and I don't know if I can speak for you when I say this, but it felt like such a pressured end of the world kind of thing in our own minds. Turning 25 and now turning 28, I feel exactly that same mindset where I'm feeling like, oh man, I don't want to turn 28. I don't want to get another year older, but at 28, oh my gosh. And it's not necessarily the full thing of, oh my gosh, aging, oh my gosh, this and that. It's not fully on that level. It's just the fact of many other things.
Mm-hmm.
The feeling of it. What do you
Yeah.
think, my friend? What does it bring up for you?
So I definitely have a little bit more time. And I give you my condolences, Ashley, because you have less time to adjust and acclimate to 28. But definitely, I think, I don't know, like going into this year, I never really had much expectations for 28. I wanted it to be a calm year, just wanted to have fun and do a lot of, exciting things, grow in some areas of my life. But this year, since it has actually begun, it's kind of just hit curveball after curveball. And it has shown me that whatever is to come in my 28th year of life, I'm definitely preparing a lot emotionally, mentally, health wise, um, in a lot of different aspects of my life. And so I definitely think rather than pressure, I think this is like a stage of my life where I'm being put to the test and needing to elevate in some way. And the universe is preparing me for that. So that's what I've been feeling. I don't feel all too upset about 28, though I do have like my concerns and things like that for the future. And just still have that strange realization that I'm almost 30, and that's kind of weird to think about because I still feel very much like I'm in the beginning stages of my 20s in a lot of ways. But yeah, I'm excited, I guess, a little bit intimidated. Let's use that word. Not scared, not pressure, but intimidated by 28. What's this new Nina gonna be like?
Absolutely, divinely strong, inspiring, motivational, just as she is now, but on that forward level, that higher level of it.
Yeah.
She's
Thank
going to
you.
be a boss, Ash. I can't say the name. Can't say the word.
So are you. You already are all of that. So, if I can grow more to be like you, then that's a gift.
My friend, I your compliments just make me feel like my highlighter.
Yeah. Your highlighter's popping. If you guys are only listening to this episode, I encourage you to come over to our YouTube and look at the gorgeous Ashley because supermodel, supermodel, stunning. She is the moment. She is the queen. Ashley.
You know that I was actually looking, I have an app on my phone that gives me different words of vocabulary. And I was going through it before this episode, and I was like, I'm going to say that's definitely Nina. Oh, yeah, that's definitely Nina. And do you think I can remember them for the life of me? No.
It's
But did I
fine.
save them? Yes. Here we go.
Sagacious.
Sagacious. You are sagacious. The utmost sagacious. You know you're sagacious. You are the
Wow.
sagacious.
Wow. What does that mean?
That means that you are intelligent. You are good at judging character. You are strong in your intellect. That's what that means.
Wow. I've never heard that word before.
Veracity.
You are veracity. You are the veracity. The
What does
word
that
was
mean?
made for you, my friend. In the dictionary, when they look up veracity, your name is under it. Truthfulness. You are truthfulness. You are the whole you.
What is it called? Veracity?
Veracity.
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 Ooh.
Perspicacious.
Perspicacious. You
That's
are.
a big one. That's gonna be my new affirmation.
Oh, I am perspicacious. Yes, you say it to yourself. Yes, 100%. You're able to judge quickly and correctly what people and situations are really like. Intuitive, perspicacious. Yes.
Nice. So are
Look
you.
at you. Look at you like this, being like, I know. I know it.
No,
Yes,
you
do know
definitely
it.
are all of these things just as much. I can't remember a single word, but you are all of them.
Every episode is just going to be us finding new ways to compliment each other.
Yes.
And I'm an Aries, so if she puts it out there in my mind, I'm like, I have to figure out this way. Should just give it back to her in full throttle mode. Right there. What's the words again? Percacious.
Sagacious, I think one of them. Sagacious. For me, they've all kind of become the same. Sagacious, voracious,
Percacious,
tenacious.
Zazacious. A basis. It's like a whole different thing.
Yeah.
Well, my friend, you know what, my friend, when I visualize my future self, I definitely am getting to that point. I feel like we all will on our journey of healing.
Yeah.
And I know you will, 100%. I am not fully, I know, and I know what the spiritual community says because I've seen certain TikToks about this, but I know that I'm getting to that point, and I can admit that. We had a conversation about this before where I spoke to someone, a mentor, potentially going to be a mentor, and visualizing yourself in the way of picturing you in the future and saying that's who you are now, right? But then we had that discussion that it kind of doesn't have any leeway for reality in a lot of sense. You can be spiritual, but if someone's gone through a whole timeline of trauma, then visualizing your future self, which I've done, but then trying to validate their presence as your current reality, you have to sort of work through. It's working through a lot of things that kind of at a point of blinding you from that and unveiling that, in my opinion, to get to that point. I feel like you have to. This is the thing that always confuses me, and I have to say this, even though that our topic of conversation today is not on this line. But the thing, well, I have to do this in another episode, but I'm just going to say this because it's in my brain. It's in there and it wants to come out, and I have to express myself. Spirituality talks about getting to that point, right? And we've kind of navigated through that, you and I, of kind of unveiling some layers and being like, okay, well, to have spirituality, you also have to have reality as well. You have to, because spirituality tells you to heal. Okay, so if I have to heal, then I have to acknowledge reality and I have to acknowledge current present state. So current present state is working through and healing through a lot of insecurities, limiting beliefs. So to visualize my future self and to fully embrace her in the way that I need to, working through a lot of the things that have been installed from trauma and projections have to be acknowledged, have to be seen, have to be worked through to get to that point. And I feel like a lot of the narratives of being in that future self means eradicating and ignoring all the issues that are behind that stop us from being in that point in so many ways. We have to see them, in my opinion. We have to see them, work through it, validate it, show it love. We have to do all of that. And that's what spirituality tells you. So it's contradiction in a lot of ways from what I see online. And no fault to anyone, no fault at all. We all have these discussions. We all have our learning. We all have our ways of seeing things. But in my opinion, dealing with someone who was spiritual, and the projection that they had was sort of in this ideology of, well, if you can't visualize your future self, then you just have a mindset that you're never going to get there, and that's your problem. It's sort of the projective way of their words was like a fault on me for, well, if you want to be there, then you have to be in your visual, like your future self. You have to be there now. You have to visualize that. Yeah. And because you're not, then that's a problem for you. And it's like, well, I can see her, but I know I have to work. I have to do what I need to do to get to I have to do what I need to do to fully embrace that. Otherwise, if I ignore all that, it doesn't go away. You know this too, Nina, and so does all of you. Your mind, your mindset, the installed cycles within you, they still play. They still come up. They still evolve themselves into your daily life. So to be in your visualized future self and try to ignore that is just leaving it there for many more days for it to pop up and be like, hello, remember me, you ugly little shite? No way. That's my personal opinion. We have to validate the process and the progress to get to our future selves. Just a little thing to add into our episode today, since we're talking about it.
No, you're absolutely right. Because, like you said, if we don't process the things we need to work through now to become the person that we want to be, it will just ruin the future for ourselves. Because those habits, those installed beliefs, those whatever it may be, will come up in either our daily life, in the way that we view ourselves or treat other people. It will come up in some type of way. So it definitely, you can have a vision for yourself in the future, but it shouldn't be stronger than working through the things that you need to work through now in order to get to where you need to be or want to be. Absolutely.
100%. And that even is the conversation we're having today as well, because these things here, the visualization of future self, and I can't speak for Nina, but I can speak for myself, is to celebrate self, to see everything as an achievement. You know, it's in that visualization, and that's what I'm starting to do right now. So that's what I mean, building to get to that point that you want to be. But even when you get to that point, though, there'll always be something. There's always be some other expansion to bring into that factor. So
Absolutely.
technically, even though I'm saying what I'm saying, this conversation is a part of it. That conversation is a part of our main topic of conversation. Celebrations and future selves and visualization, everything connects. I've said that to Nina before, and I've said that so many times on my advocacy pages. I truly believe, and it's in spirituality as well, that everything connects, because it does. If we're talking about, what's an example I can use? If we're talking about the education system, what connects to that is mental health, anxiety, depression. It's like a spider web, if people remember that, what you did in school, where you'd have the middle topic and then everything kind of branches off that, and it keeps branching and branching. This is one of those branches.
Yes.
So many branches.
Yes. And when it comes to, visualizing yourself in the future, it also has to do with celebration, because you will celebrate when you get there versus celebrate the small steps that you're taking every day to get there. It's like the perfect saying. It's not the goal, it's not the end that counts, it's the journey to that goal, the journey to what it is that you want. You need to not be so focused on getting to the end line. You need to smell the roses and, dance a little bit and meet a couple friends and go off the beaten path and, go to the river and bathe in there if that's your thing.
Yes.
You need to go off the path and not just be like, go, go, go. But yeah, when it comes to celebrations, birthdays, things like that, Ashley and I had a lot of conversations about it. Because, birthdays can be, in our society, I feel, depending on what age you are, there it goes, another thing that's connecting to it. Depending on what age you are, people either celebrate it or like, oh my gosh, don't you think you need to start settling down? What about kids? Like, you're like 35. Like, what? It's like the older you get, right?
Like 10 kids. What are you doing with your life? What have you been doing with yourself? You should have 10 diplomas. You should be married. And where are those babies? Pop those babies out.
And own your own house.
Where's your house? Where's your mansion? Where's your car?
Your
Where's all the
Maserati.
bills that you want to pay? Where's your massive job and look at your CEO, wow, you're powerful with your 10 kids and your CEO and you got all these bills to pay. Legendary at 21.
Yes. You're supposed to have all these things, all these expectations surrounded by an age and number, and that can go towards celebrations as well. What is worth celebrating and what is not? And today, Ashley and I kind of wanted to talk about that because society can be quite hypocritical. Yes, that too.
Annoying.
You can so tell our astrological sign. I can never say that word. You can so tell our signs. Like, you're so fire and I'm so water.
I wonder if anyone's actually figured that out yet without even us telling them what our star signs are. I'm the one. Sometimes during our episodes, even for season 1, I'll just be like, wee, and Nina's gonna be like, so she's like, bring me back down from the clouds. And you can actually hear it sometimes in the episodes too, where I'll just go off the rocket, the fire rocket, zoom, and Nina's like, Ash pulls me back down.
No, I love that. It's like we said, there are so many different things, conversations, and when you talk to somebody, it's not just linear. You have stories and this pops into your head and this connects with that, so I love that you are free flowing with the way you communicate. I think that that's actually a power. It's a superpower to have, rather than be like, well, A, and then there was B, and then there was C, and then we end at D. Good night.
Yes. Hi. Welcome to the Daily Themas Podcast. Your next session will start in 10 minutes.
I love that. That's perfect. Oh.
I think that we should not turn 28 this year and just go back to 21. Just kidding.
That was everything. Your laugh. That was everything.
I should have laughed the way AR does. Ha, ha, ha.
Oh gosh. Yes. If you want to go back in time and turn a year younger, press the dial tone now. I'm not as good as you with that. But anyway.
That was good. That was really good.
Oh. That sounds like a Black Mirror episode.
Oh gosh, yeah. But in realism, Nina, you can't even press anything because you'll be online. You'll be on hold for like 30 minutes to an hour to 2
Elevator
hours.
music.
Oh my gosh, because the music that they play. We have something called Centrelink here, which people know about. And the music they play every single time when you're waiting on hold. I got it in my head right now. It's playing in my head right now. I can't reenact it for you all. I really can't unless I call Centrelink right now. I'm still going. I can't reenact it, but it's the same song. Everyone knows it. It's hilarious. They could at least have like Backstreet Boys, like the remix version. Makes you want to dance. Everybody, rock your body. As you're waiting for Centrelink, you're like, oh my gosh, yes.
Right, you get in a good mood.
Like, oh my god, hi. Why do you? Hi. So,
right, you're in a dance battle.
From dancing, you're all sweaty to wipe my brow line.
Oh, yeah, that's great. That would be fantastic. I sometimes it's just a little side rant on top of that. Sometimes wonder if that music is just like a little bit of a brainwash moment, where they're trying to calm you down with the most nonsensical sounds that are supposed to be calming but are not. They just infuriate you more.
Yes, it feels like some AI stuff. It just feels so progressive. It feels like it drains your soul. Just like this is how I'd sit there listening to them. I'd be like, what day is it again? What year? What month? Who am I? Who am I? I actually feel like I'm in a completely different dimension, just sitting there waiting for them. Put some frequency music on. Let's get our vibrations high while we're waiting for Centrelink. And while whatever, what are you waiting for? Who do you wait for? On your side of the world, who do you wait for?
But just like to add to that, I wanted to keep this information to myself because it's something that is new and recent, but I do want to just drop it in here because we're talking about AI and music and all of that. They have created a machine that reads people's minds, and they're saying it's to help people who struggle with memory loss, but the US government, not calling anybody out specifically, but the US government has started they've coined a term called thought crime. And the second I saw that, I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm really going to go back to when I was 6 years old after watching Signs with the tinfoil hat on my head, just be like, leave me alone. It's really turning into 1945, 42, that book from George Orwell, where the thought police are around and you can't think freely for yourself anymore, even to yourself. It's petrifying. But yeah, I'm sure it's just calming music to listen to while you're on the phone.
No. And even that's a no-no. That's a big no-no. We don't want no Edward Cullen kind of thing going on here. He shouldn't have read the minds of those people in the restaurant. That's so unconsensual.
Right? You never really think about that. Yeah. And that's why he liked Bella, because he couldn't read her mind.
Most of the people in the restaurant were thinking about one thing. I know if you remember that one thing. I don't know if we can say it on YouTube. If we can say that word. Is that a naughty word?
But yeah.
You know what though? That machine is definitely not something to celebrate.
Mm,
Those actually, you know what? It's kind of difficult because the person that created it, they probably feel like it's just a major achievement for them. This is what I've thought about many times. Is that the people that create it, I kind of wonder if, we can see the doom and gloom of it, right? And I
mm,
get it, I get it. We watched iRobot as well with the invention of AI and robots. A lot of people talk about it when a robot comes up. They're like, haven't you seen iRobot? Like, aren't you gonna
right.
learn from these movies? What are you doing? In my head, I can't help but think about the person who created it, the human being that created it. And I do wonder, I can't help but wonder if they're so proud of themselves for creating something like this that might be the first human that created it, or it maybe even spending years on a project and getting to that point. I can't help but think of the person that created it and wonder
Mm,
if they have no, if they don't think of it like that, they think of it like their creation to humanity, bringing something to humanity like this, even though we might be very uncomfortable with it. Just the other side to it, I guess, is what I'm thinking about. And it
yeah.
kind of, it's tricky with the whole celebration thing and the whole what do you celebrate kind of thing. Because I guess if that was me, I wouldn't really create it, I'm going to be honest, because I'd be thinking about the potentials. But
Yeah.
if I was at a moment where I could do this kind of thing, if my mind was at that really skillful level and I could do it, I would do it. And then afterwards look at my creation and think, oh my gosh, I did that. I did that. You would
Right.
celebrate it. You would
Yeah.
naturally celebrate it.
Yeah. That's a celebration for that person and for the people who
Yeah,
it could benefit from. Yeah, that's true.
exactly.
That's
As much as
amazing.
none of us
Looking,
want iRobot to happen, no way.
yeah. But it's already happened. It's already happened. I think, what was it? Elon Musk, he like created like the human robot thingy that looks exactly like the iRobot.
Oh, yes. Yes. Oh, jeez.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, we know how to beat them. We've just got to kill Vicky. We've just got to take
Yeah,
her out. Wherever
yeah.
she is, let's go find Vicky.
And speaking of celebrations, I don't know if this is a good celebration or a bad celebration, but I'm going to hold out future hope for the future, both. um, I heard several weeks ago that certain scientists, this has turned into some kind of technology talk, but certain scientists have created poison for code when it comes to certain robots and wanting to test out AI to see highly intelligent robots to see how they would go about code destroying viruses and things like that integrated, if they would update, if they would realize it, or if they would self-destruct, what would happen essentially. And what happened was not only did the robot or the AI pick up the fact that these programmers programmed the virus into them, they've obsoleted, they've made the virus obsolete, and then also prevented the programmer from doing it again on their own. And so I'm just like, and you can't reverse it. Apparently, these robots have become so intelligent. I don't know which robots they tested it on, which AI they tested it on, but they've become so intelligent that they've now rewired each other to pick up if somebody programs a virus into them so they can prevent it from ruining their system. And so I'm like, this is very interesting that people have created viruses against these robots. And I'm like, the reason I say I'm holding out hope and I'm somewhat feeling more celebratory with that specific news, but it could also go bad. But I'm thinking, worst case scenario, if we're still at the point where robots can be virus can be programmed into robots or AI, that could possibly be our way back if things go too far. We have systems in place. I don't have a lot of hope, but I do have hope. And I think that can be a point of celebration as well. We can celebrate a lot of different things, and what is a celebration for one person does not mean it is for the other. I think we all should be more mindful when it comes to thinking about what is worthy of celebration when it comes to somebody else. You know, just because it's not a big deal for you, could be for that other person, could be for the future of
Yeah.
humanity. You never know.
That's exactly right, my
Yeah.
friend. And it makes me think too, because we always, before we jump on, we kind of have a conversation of what we want to talk about. And we know that the topic, like I said, the topic is exactly going to be, the main point of conversation, but everything leads into it. And I was just thinking before, when we talk about celebration, it's not, even with our future discussions, it's not a set in stone kind of, this is what it is kind of thing. Because Nina and I will continue to learn, and we will continue to expand our awareness. And not everyone sees certain things as celebrational the way we do, but we saying what we're going to be saying is putting it out there that some of society's things that it celebrates is so small compared to the major things human beings can do and have done. Their skill sets, there. I sound like an alien. I'm not. I'm a part of the human being race.
Part of the human AI.
I Yes, I am. Uh, uh, uh.
Ha, ha, ha,
Let's just do AI for that. Ha,
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 ha.
ha.
Freeze.
Yes, please.
Human beings are incredibly talented and skillful and have so much to offer. Look at that smile that you just did. Like, I just got that. Such an unhinged episode.
Yes. Welcome to the party. It's a celebration of life.
Human beings just have so much to share, and our discussions that we've had have been unveiling the things that we feel are an extension of celebration, are really something that deserve recognition. More maybe recognition and support, celebration, that's just the label, but support, recognition, validation, heard, seen, validated, the whole shebang, rather than what is so hierarchied and put as what should be celebrated, what should be seen, and then everything else just pretend that it's not happening, that it doesn't exist. That's what it feels like, honestly.
Yeah.
And there are major things that I think through even advocacy with mental health as well that people wouldn't consider to be a milestone. But actually, I'm going to say this though, as recognition, we are recognizing a lot more these days. Sobriety. Am I saying it right? Sobriety?
Yeah, sobriety. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When people feel comfortable and safe enough to talk about their own experiences with that and say how many days or years they've been sober, people celebrate and show support towards that. So I feel like we are acknowledging it. I feel like we are progressing through the realization that many things deserve us to recognize them. It's just some people still hold on to old ways of life, old traditional belief systems. And that's not a fault, it's not about that. But at the same time, do you have a big enough space to also validate the other achievements that are happening around you with all the people in your life? Because I guarantee you, someone around you didn't get out of bed for a couple of weeks, and the first day they got out of bed, that deserves recognition.
Yes.
Because they knew how tough that was, and that deserves to be supported and seen and validated by you. Someone walking down the aisle deserves it just as much as someone getting out of bed after a massive depressive episode deserves it too.
Yeah.
That's what we're on the lines of
Trying to
discussion.
convey. Yeah. No, it's true because I mean we know this, but then in our day-to-day lives, how are we implementing this in terms of we know that everybody has a different life, has different upbringings, has, different backgrounds, culture, language, all of that. So all of our lives are so different. And in turn, all of the things we aspire to do and aspire to be, and even are in the moment, are completely different. Our lives are all completely different. We have a lot of things in common and everything is connected, but we are like different branches on the same tree. You know what I mean? And so, like Ashley so perfectly said, somebody who has come up on even just a day being sober, then a year sober, that's a massive, massive progression. And to somebody else, that may not seem like a big deal. There may be people like, well, I don't care about alcohol. That's not a big. No, it is a big deal to that person. And also, yes, I this was the first time that I thought about it as well. Celebration at the end of the day is just recognition and respect and giving that person their flowers, so to say, for whatever they have achieved. Um, but yeah, let's try to like reflect. Let's take a moment and think about where in your life have you been told that you could not celebrate something, or it wasn't big enough, or you hadn't done enough. And then think back on the wins you had that you never told anybody about, but the things that you were really proud of that weren't really recognized, so to say. I say that with air quotes for those who are listening, that weren't really recognized by society. Like you got your driver's license at whatever age, and you got your car and you got your house, but like, where's your mental health at? Did you get out of bed well? Are you eating well? Those are victories, small victories, and those should also be celebrated. And yeah, I just feel like I'm regurgitating everything that you said, Ash, but it's so beautiful and powerful. And you really just made me speechless for a second. It's like, yeah, celebrations are recognition, moments where we recognize somebody's efforts and the things that they have done. But also, let's recognize what people are still actively doing. And let's not focus on the person that we want to be, but also everything that we're doing to heal the person that we are today. Absolutely. My gosh. Full circle. See how wise Ashley is? See how beautiful she is? If you're watching this on YouTube, you will see her gorgeous, gorgeous hair. I love her hair. It's like beautiful, fiery red. And it's just wisdom. That's all that like comes out of her, is just wisdom. So again, I'm going back to what you said in the beginning of the episode of like, what am I going to be like at 28? You are already that. You are already everything and more. And I applaud you, Ashley, for everything that you're currently working through and achieving for yourself. Not in terms of like being productive or having to do it, but that you do it for you, for your healing, for your mental health, for your growth, for your heart, for your soul, for you to be at peace with who you are and what you want. Because that is something that, we just getting out of bed at the beginning of the day, even sometimes at the end of the day. That can be the hardest thing for people to do. I've definitely had weeks like that recently as well. And so, be mindful of the things that may seem small but are actually big to not only yourself but the people around you, and celebrate that. Yeah. Are you crying? Oh my gosh. She's so beautiful. You make me cry. I was like, oh, you have like a sparkle in your eye.
I'm trying to get the tears to fall downwards. Fall downwards. No.
I was just like, wow, look at that sparkle in Ashley's eye. And I'm like, oh, I think she's crying.
Yeah, why would you run downwards when you had an opportunity to go this way?
It's okay.
Honestly, everyone needs a friend like Nina in their life. Everyone needs a friend like Nina. Truly, everyone deserves a friend like Nina in their life.
Thank you.
I just wish nothing more that all of you find a friend like Nina in your lives, because, my gosh, I have never felt so human and so validated and seen and heard and loved. I feel like I can do things. I feel like I can be me, in so many ways. Like Nina just, she's healed so much within me, as well as I've done a lot of my healing. But just when it comes to people around, she's healed so much within me. And as you were talking, I was like, I was kind of like holding it. I didn't want to blink. I was just holding it.
You look
And I
beautiful
said that
even
I
with
was gonna
tears.
I said I was going to get different things apart from using tissue. So I've got socks, and they're
Ooh.
clean. This is an FYI, they're clean.
Mhm.
Oh, my friend. Everyone deserves someone like Nina. I'm going to say it a million times. For all of you out there listening, it is so possible to have friends around you that help you feel safe and secure and heard and seen and valid and recognized. The things that you didn't see as important, to have someone in your life that shows you, as well as obviously you've got to see it too. You've got to work through that as well. But someone else that really shows you that it's possible to see your life and everything in it as worthy and valued and something to celebrate, something to acknowledge. Nina gives that to me, as well as I've built that for myself. Nina has shown me it in so many ways as well. And it's just, it's still sometimes I sit there and I think, I know Nina. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
This
That
is
is
just,
so
yeah.
sweet. I feel
No,
the same
thank
way
you.
about you. I feel the same way about you. Everybody deserves a friend like Ashley. Just get us both. We're a package deal at this case. At this point,
Yes.
my goodness. But
We are,
yeah.
it's like Taylor says, it's our love story. Baby, just say yes. I say that I really hope that all of you find a Nina in your life, because I know how difficult it is to find that and have that, especially because we're acknowledging the reality is that we're a society that is healing. We've actually just, from my opinion, I feel like we've just started that. So, friendships as a whole, and communication and boundaries, and really being able to be open and safe spaces as well for people to create that for each other and continue that for each other. I think we're just finding that out. So I just want to say that too, because I know a lot of people, when they see these friendships, they say, well, it's impossible for me. It's not going to happen for me. It is. Society is just getting to that point of recognizing healing and recognizing where it needs to, what it needs to look at, where it needs to, recognizing where it needs to look, what it needs to acknowledge and see, and make its way through that healing stage, which is a process for every single thing that needs healing. And friendships is one of them. And that's individualism, may I just say, because obviously individuals are a part of the friendship. So it has to start with each human being first.
Yes, absolutely. I
But it's,
think I don't know if we've talked about this in previous episodes, but there was definitely a time in my life, you and I have talked about this, where, I couldn't have imagined having a friend like you, having friends that were actually healthy or gave me what I needed. And so every time when I have a hardship in my life, or when I realize that I've outgrown certain people, friendships, etc., I still am so awestruck. I don't know if that's the right word that I'm trying to look for, but just amazed at the fact that I still have our friendship in all the ways that we met, and in all the ways that, the things that could have happened that prevented us from meeting and prevented us from getting to the point where we are at now. I think it is just incredible, because our friendship is what I base other people's friendship off of now. Of course, everybody is their own person. I'm not putting everybody in a box, so no worries. But, I still
do the same thing.
It's still like, okay, I'm given the freedom to communicate here, to feel here, to talk about my feelings. am I feeling heard in the same way with others? Am I hearing myself even? And it has gotten me to the point where I'm able to feel my feelings thanks to you and a couple other people where I've like been able to open up and really express my emotions without judgment. And so it's incredible when you do meet people or meet a person. It doesn't even have to be many, even though it should be more than one. I think just to have balance and freedom and to be able to do stuff with more than one person. But even then, it's about the quality, not the quantity. And to have you in my life is a blessing. And I'm so excited for Australia. We haven't set a date yet to anybody's listening, but I'm planning and I'm excited. I'm excited.
I'm so excited. I'll be an absolute wreck of crying the moment she hits. I'm a Cancer rising, so I definitely cry, and I don't care. I cry because I
Yeah.
feel so deeply. And you know what it is? It's just the moment when it hits where you're here. It's just going to be that moment when it hits. It's going to hit like a tidal wave.
Yeah.
Because when you talk about things, it's different to actually experiencing them. Like going to Italy, I will be an absolute mess. I will be crying because to me, none of this felt possible. So, of course, I'm going to see it as such a whoa moment and it's going to be so overwhelming, but in a good way. You know, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I'm actually here right now. I cannot believe Nina's here right now. I cannot believe that I'm showing her around and taking her to places and doing this and doing that. I just can't believe this is actually happening right now, especially for the little girl in me and for the teenage self. I know that they're feeling it a lot just to have a friend. I think that's just I'm going to start again. I could feel it. As I say, when the moment I said little girl and teenage self, that's it. I could feel it. Like those two are just so
It's okay,
like
you can cry.
I know those two are really safe in a friendship. And it was such a rare thing, unfortunately, to feel safe in a friendship and even to be celebrated in your just existing, just existing and human, being treated like a human being. That's what gets me. Being you treat me like a human being.
Yeah.
And unfortunately that felt not even just felt, but the treatment wasn't within that validation of you're a human being,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of people can relate to over the years with birthdays. As a child, I'm not going to say that there weren't any celebrations because there were, and I have some really good memories of that. Really, definitely. My mum makes the most amazing birthday cakes. Makes amazing cakes in general. Oh, absolute superb, talented woman, that one. Multiple talents. And she would make our birthday cakes. And one time have you heard of, is it Little Men or Little Miss or something? Have you heard of them? Like Mr.
Mm-mm.
Bump,
No.
Mr. Angry. You've never heard of them? You should definitely
No.
Google it. I was a massive fan of them. And they're little white books, and there's like a whole lot of them, and they're about each character. Mr. Bump was my favorite, my
Mm.
absolute favorite. 1 second. Interval. No, what's it called? Yeah, what's it called where you put the lip? I
Intermission?
forget it.
Intermission?
Think of it. I'm like, oh, stop it. Yeah, Mr. Bum. I something about this guy. Just I loved him. I loved him a lot. I know you won't be able to see it with audio, but some of you may know what I'm talking about.
Mm.
Easy.
Oh yeah, I do remember those. Yeah, yeah, the smiley faces. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're called some. What are they called? They're called something else altogether, like Little Men, isn't it, or something?
I always called
Mr.
them the
Men.
smiley face
Mr. Men.
people.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. They're called Little Men series, and
Mhm.
my mum took inspiration from I think an '80s child cake book or something like that, and it had the Little Men house, and it was red house. It was a red house with a yellow roof, and she made that, and she made the little men, and she put them around, and Mr. Bump was at the front. Because that man, he's Mr. Bump, but he's my man. He bumped a lot, and he did this thing, but he something about him anyway. Yeah, she made that cake, and I loved it. I loved it so much. She made a fairy cake for my older sister and I for our birthdays one time too. Yes, and it was
It's amazing.
I had a thing for fairies as a child. Fairies were major, so yeah. Over the years, as a child, it was definitely a lot of good memories in celebrations. As you get older, that dwindles. That starts to dispense. And you feel that as a teenager. You feel the change from childhood to teenagehood. It gets difficult. And when you're in high school and you're other people around you, other high schoolers, it feels like one, you have to celebrate within trend. Two, everyone gets invited, even if you don't really know them or you're not really on the friends thing. And three, no one's actually there to celebrate you in the entirety of it. And that might be a bit of a broad assumption to say, but I feel like as a teen, for a lot of people, it was just about showing up for the party and not for the actual birthday person, not for the individual that you're celebrating. I don't want to make assumption and a broad assumption, but it kind of feels like the mentality of people in some sense, not all senses, is that they want the free food and they want the drinks and they want the party aspect. But the realization that you're there to honor the human being that you're celebrating, it's their day, it's their birth, they're on this earth, we're grateful that they're here. That's kind of the symbolism I have for birthdays, is the celebration of them coming onto this planet, for being here, because we don't know what they've been through, being here, alive, celebrating, just the whole thing of honoring is my thing, honoring their existence, honoring them. As a teen, though, I kind of get the mentality, even for myself, to that aspect wasn't fully there. But I definitely do think that's around. I definitely still think that's around.
Oh, yeah.
But as a teen, it was very prevalent. It was very there.
Yeah.
And over the years, as we progress forward, one particular birthday, my 20th birthday, was definitely something that you just don't forget. My 18th birthday, I had a lot of people and I had a party at home, and I kind of just invited whoever and whatever, and because I was in that mentality as a teen, it is what it is, but I did that. And then for my 20th, I had it at a all you can eat, and I invited, I think I had 60 people in total, including a little bit of family. So majority of it was friends, right? Only 4 people showed up that day. And we had paid for everyone. We had paid for them. There was no refunds. I remember holding back tears when I walked into the venue, and obviously they had the table set up. Some of my family were there, and some of my friends, like one of my friends had come with me, and I was holding back tears, and I was thinking to myself, this is soul crushing, because you think that you're cared about, you think that you're seen, you want to be loved, you want to be seen. We all do. And I know my teen self wanted to be. And in that moment, it's like another experience had taken that away, to a lot of people. And this is another thing too, because a lot of people classify this stuff as not that serious. You see who you have there, they're the ones to celebrate and kumbaya. But it's a blunt way of trying to get the person that's going through it to see things. It's very blunt. There's a lot of things that navigate. There's a lot of things behind the scenes that bring you to that exact moment of, okay, well, maybe I'm not as loved as I thought I was. Maybe I'm really not that seen and cared about. Obviously, your mind with its limiting beliefs and the things you've been through in your life come up. But yeah, that left an impression. And I think from then on, I had a 21st. I did have a 21st. Um, because that's kind of the thing. I don't know if it is for you, but we celebrate 16th, 18th, and 21st. They're kind of the main
Mhm.
ones that,
Mhm.
from what I've heard, are the big
Mhm.
celebrations that are considered the big
Mhm.
celebrations. Is that the same for you?
I think it was 16, 18, 25, and then 30.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's 21 here for some reason. I'm not sure the
Mhm.
reason, to be honest. You would kind of think 20 because you're just starting off your
Right.
20s.
Yeah.
But no, it's 16, 18, and 21 for us. Who knows why? So a 21st was, sort of a must have. All of my siblings have had a 21st. Sort of everyone has had a 21st around me. So I had a 21st, but I just remember being incredibly anxious and anxiety ridden. I was checking my phone consistently, and I knew that the messages would come. It would put me in a state of almost shaking, just thinking that I'm going to walk out of my room and like no one's going to be there, kind of thing. And that wasn't the case. It didn't happen like that. But at the same time, after 21, and you go through the changes, I went through the changes that I went through. Birthdays just became so different from there. They became smaller and smaller. And that's not a bad thing, may I just say. But obviously, when you're progressing through trying to detach, worth and value from numbers and trying to just heal that aspect of you that see a lot of numbers as I'm worthy and loved. When you're trying to heal through that, you definitely see it as a bit of a, what's the word, a negative thing, you
Mhm.
know. But over the years of that changing and navigating through, I definitely felt the punch of, oh, well, you're not actually that loved and that celebrated with the way that your birthdays are these days compared to when you were a child. Children, as a child, you're more validated and seen because you're a child. But as an adult, it's kind of like, oh, well, whatever, go on your own, do your own thing, whatever it is what it is, kind of thing. It's not that important anymore. And that was definitely an interesting thing to go through, but also to see as I got older personally how everyone else talks about their own birthdays. And then now it makes sense to me. It makes sense to me why the adults don't see the adults as not worthy. I can see why the adults don't see the adults as an importance when it comes to that celebrational moment, or those celebrational moments. Even school as well. When you leave school and you go to uni and you graduate from uni, I'm not labeling this as everyone's case, but some people get celebrated. But I find if an adult completes a diploma or it goes to uni, it's a different energy, it's a different space towards that person. And I think we're kind of in a way giving support depending on the age, as well as depending on what it is. It's kind of where I'm
Yeah.
going with this, as well
Yeah.
as experiences with birthdays and stuff like that, and how that
Yeah.
really navigated me through realization. Expansion of awareness is the best way to say it,
Yeah.
in
I
the shortest
definitely,
version possible.
yeah, I
Well,
definitely agree.
that was my try.
Definitely. And you are absolutely right. You hit the nail on the head. Because I can't tell you how many times when I have been introduced to new people or I ask, "Oh, when is your birthday?" Because it's something so exciting, so fun. To me, it's just like
Yeah.
it's your day. It's the day you were born. But then so many times, Ashley, I've gotten the response of, "Oh, it's just like any other day. It doesn't really matter." I sometimes
Mm,
even forget my own birthday. I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say they forget their own birthday. And even
yeah.
recently, I think last year, I was speaking with somebody that I knew, and they were like, "Well, I had asked, what did you do for your birthday? Like, what is a typical thing you do? What do you like to do?" And they were like, "Well, I don't really do anything. Sometimes I get a couple texts from my friends, but most of the time people don't even remember me around me when my birthday is. I'm like, it was like a shock to my system, because when you are somebody's friend, when you call yourself a friend or call yourself, some kind of person to the person that you know, shouldn't you know when their birthday is? And then make some kind of an effort to be there for that person, to celebrate the person, rather than just happy birthday, send text. Like it is so devastating to me when I see things like that. And like you said, Ash, it doesn't surprise me why so much of adulthood doesn't feel as magical as what you imagine it to be when you were younger. When you're young, you're like, oh my God, I can be an adult. I can buy all the toys. I can go here. I can go there. It's going to be amazing. But then you become an adult and just everything becomes more and more like sad and depressing.
It becomes
Even
survival
Christmas. Even Christmas, we talked about that in our Christmas episode, and it is because of that mindset of like, when you get past a certain age, or you are a certain age, there's no point in it anymore, or there's not as much importance in it. And I think it should actually be the exact opposite, because every year that you're alive is a blessing. Every year that you're alive is a blessing. Some people don't even get to be your age, and so we should celebrate that. And we should celebrate our moments where we feel happy, or that we feel we should celebrate it, or have that moment of like, oh, I'm proud of myself. We should celebrate that. We should acknowledge that. We should acknowledge that in other people. And just to say real quick, because I can definitely relate on your story when it comes to your birthday and you had this whole thing set up and then nobody came. I think it was my 7th birthday. My mom threw this big event at this restaurant, and I had invited my entire class, except the people I didn't like. I didn't invite them. There were like 1 or 2 people, but I had invited everybody else. I was so excited, and one of my best friends at the time was named Moses, and because it's such an unusual name, I don't hear that name often, and that's why I remember it. And the reason I remember this birthday out of most birthdays is because I had been so excited. I was like, oh, I'm going to see my friends. I'm going to see, this friend of mine. And I had another friend, and her name was Emily. And I'm sure none of them listen to this podcast, and you guys are not going to know who I'm talking about. That's why I'm using real names. Just an Emily and just a Moses, somewhere in Germany. Anyway, I had invited her, and because I had invited her, Moses didn't show up because they had had a relationship and they had broken up. And I was so excited that Moses was going to show up, that when I heard the news that he wasn't going to actually be there because of this other person that was there, that really devastated me. I was like, well, you two are like my top 2 friends. So if, and it was a moment to me, and yes, I was 7 years old, but still it was a moment to me where it's like, am I not more important than, you two having like a little fight? Like, can you two not be in the same room just to support me? You don't even have to talk to each other. Like, just show up, or at least say happy birthday. You don't have to be there the entire time, or let's make a time some other time to hang out. But no, none of that. I'm not going to be there. And it really hurt me at the time. Now, being older, I understand. But at the time, when you're in that version of like, I'm so excited for everybody to show up, and then people don't show up. And I've had that happen before too, where nobody shows up. It's devastating, and you can't really think all too clear, and everything. My mom came to me and she's like, don't worry about that person, focus on the people that are there. But in that moment, you're so overcome with this emotion of like, well, am I not important? Am I not important to this person? Am I overcompensating what my importance is in that person's life? You go through all these thoughts. And I say this to say that if anybody else has experienced this, or has gone through this, or is going through this right now, process your emotions, feel them. Don't let anybody tell you that it's not okay to feel them. There's always a way to go about it, and there are ways to figure that out. Especially now that we're adults, I feel like there should be more conversations than when you're 7 years old and you're just, oh my God, you're not showing up, you're not my friend anymore. But things like that can be very impactful because I feel like birthdays as well can be a very vulnerable time. You know, you are so open to being celebrated, especially as a kid. And then when you get older and you reach that quote unquote threshold where people lack the importance of it or lack the importance of celebrating it, it can feel even more impactful later on than it does when we are a kid in that sense. So, to anybody listening to this, you are worthy, you are loved, and you deserve to have people show up for your events and celebrate you. And if they can't show up for one reason or another, I'm sure there's a way to reschedule or do it in another way to celebrate you and your birthday or your time or whatever it is that you're celebrating. You know, we are adults now. We can react to things a lot better. We can talk about things, hopefully. But yes, birthdays are important and celebrating life is important. And let's be open to all forms of being present to other people in our lives. I kind of went on a rant.
In saying all of it as well, which it would have been completely crushing for a 7-year-old. You know, it is for a child. You know, and I think people's outlook on stuff like this would be, well, they need to get with the real world because these things do happen. You know, and well, firstly, you know, I was going to say,
What's the real world?
I was going to say a different way. Even with your story as a child, it is crushing for a child to go through, and the way that adults navigate through this stuff. And I was just thinking about it as you were saying it. They would be like, well, children have to know this is the real world, this is what they're going to deal with. This is what it is. People don't show up, and that's what happens. And as you know, as much as we can tell a child, hey, this is survival mode, this is what it is, you have to know about it because you're going to go through it. Essentially, though, the way that we have pushed survival mode has gone as far as taking away anything that has a glimpse or a glimmer of life in absolute truth, life within enjoyment and fulfillment, passion, empathy. Survival mode really is just about that, and that's really it. And if we push that upon everyone especially from a young age, well, if I can tell you one thing, it's that survival mode feels like oblivion in so many ways. And I think a lot of people can relate. It feels like oblivion, as well as a consistent running on the wheel like a hamster and never being able to get off. And it's the same, you wake up to the same progressive thing every day of your life, right? A child that is devastated because their friends didn't show up, you validate and you see that, right? Because as adults now, like Nina said too, we can see why people don't show up and can't show up.
Yeah.
I can say this for myself. I haven't turned up to a lot of birthdays, even though I've really wanted to. And the guilt has eaten me alive. The shame of it has eaten me alive. I can definitely say that. You know, it devastated me as a 20-year-old to have all those people not showing up 100% because it was attached to I'm not loved. You know, I never felt loved. So that it really just sparked those thoughts. But me now, knowing what I know, I understand why people don't show up. I understand why it's difficult. I understand that life is happening. I can understand many things as well as knowing where to boundary them, as well as knowing when someone is being deliberately disrespectful. It's just knowing where the balance is, where the empathy and compassion needs to go, and where the, you know what, you're not really being a friend needs to be said. It's understanding where that is valid and where it's not. And that is a part of this conversation too.
Yeah.
I can 100% say that due to my life and the way things have turned out and my own mindset, I could not show up for people the way that I wanted to. And it has really taken a lot out of me because you feel so much from it. You feel like you've let people down. You feel like you are the worst person in the world and you've wanted to be there. And it has eaten at me. And there are some days I still deal with being too hard on myself and it still eats at me. because I honor people and I honor their existence, because I know what it's like to not want to exist myself.
Yeah.
So I make sure to honor people around me. And if I can't show up that way because I'm trying to cope mentally and physically with everything that's going on within body and mind, you really do feel it.
Yeah.
So the other side of the spectrum, as well as saying, show up for your friends, because I know we say this, show up for your friends and your family. On the other side of the spectrum, I understand why it can be hard to show up. So these conversations are so wide. It's such a wide thing. Every conversation we ever have, every episode we ever make, the conversation, it won't just be that. It's a wide spectrum. It's a branch, like
Yeah.
Nina said it. It's branches. There's branches and branches of stuff. And that's the proof of this is the proof of that.
Yeah.
It's not to guilt
Absolutely.
anyone in saying that if you don't show up, you're a bad person. We're not saying that either. We're not. We're just saying that there's been the other side of the spectrum where a lot of people haven't shown up, where we've had moments where we thought someone would show up that we really cared about, or we thought they cared about us. And it's just all those experiences are part of this equation.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes, just like Ashley said, there is no one way to view things. There's not just one side of things. We're trying to encompass the full picture. And like Ashley said, while we do strive to show up for the people that we care about, it's number one, the number one priority should be showing up for yourself first. And if you are not in a healthy state, in a healthy place, or you just can't, or, you shouldn't tear yourself apart to be at a location. There are ways to show up for that person in other locations, in other ways during different times. And if you have a
Definitely.
good, yeah, and if you have a good basis with the person that you're trying to show up for, the people in your life that you're trying to show up for, then they will know that. They will know you. They will know your heart. And I truly, at least, I can't put my own perspective on other people, but there are ways to understand it. As a kid back then, I didn't, because I was like, well, it's my day. Why wouldn't you show up my day? But now I'm older and I'm like, well, it's other people's days too. It's not just an important day in your life. There are things going on in other people's lives too. And if they have to draw that boundary, it's for the sake of everybody. Because if they were to show up to that event or to that thing and two people didn't get along, what if a fist fight broke out? You know what I mean? And then your day would be ruined because they decided to show up for you. But in fact, it would have been better. Yeah.
How
Would have
did
been better if one of them stayed at home, or two or both or whatever. So there are perspectives to everything, and I think everything is very nuanced. And like Ashley said, there are people who definitely fail you in life, definitely don't show up on a consistent basis, and that should be looked at. But there are also situations and life events that happen that just don't enable you to be there. A good example of that, there have been some videos going around, and I'll try to make this quick because I feel like I've talked about so many different things. But there's been a video going around TikTok, and I don't know if you guys have seen it. Ash, I don't know if you've seen it, but it was something about the movie that J-Lo recently did. And her team had reached out to different artists and stuff like that and tried to get them in on the project, in on the movie. And they were like, no, I can't do it. And they were so upset about it. Her team was so upset about it and was part of this documentary, not realizing that one of the people they invited had an actual wedding day that day where they had asked him to show up. It was his wedding day. And so he's like, I can't come. And they were so upset about it. And I mention this because it's like you have other things going on in life, just because you can't be part of something doesn't mean that they don't care about you, doesn't mean that they don't love you, doesn't mean that they don't want to be there. But you have other stuff too, So definitely keep that in mind.
Again, that's just where the conversation it's so widespread.
Yeah.
It's so widespread. It has to be, because we're trying to validate as many angles as possible. And through our conversations, that's what we try to do in obviously the time span that we have. We try to validate, someone being upset, but then also on the other spectrum, the potential reality of why someone wasn't there, but also realizing that you have a friend, but also realizing that if you have a friend as an example, that has potentially done other things and then they haven't showed up for something, and the other things are corresponding with that, and there's just been an unfolding of realities, then that's another subject within itself, right? That's another subject within itself. So validating all angles takes a lot of unwinding of different things. And it's why when I see online people completely go at someone for having for set, when I go online and see someone when I go online and see people completely go at someone for one perspective on a topic, it's kind of like you're all yelling at them, but it's one. That's the thing. It's one perspective. If TikTok gives you 10 minutes to talk about it, I'm telling you, a lot of these topics need more than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
A lot of these topics need more than 10. And if I'm sure that person, especially with some of the videos I've seen, want to talk longer about it and have so much to say about it, but they say this one point towards that topic, this one point, because that's the point that's coming up. That's the point they want to acknowledge. But they're not saying that there's no other branches out there and that's just it. No, there are many and they know it too. And that's why when I do my videos on TikTok, I always say there's more to this conversation, because I know people will take this one conversation and think, this is it. This is what it is. And there is nothing more. No, there is so much more. There is so much more to these conversations.
Absolutely.
Celebrating uni, celebrating diplomas, celebrating mental health days, celebrating someone getting out of a depressive episode, celebrating all these things. They're all major conversations that deserve to be had because it's human reality. And we are the Daily Humans podcast for a reason.
Yes.
So we try our best to acknowledge many things, many things, which we will.
Yeah.
It deserves to be celebrated, though. No,
all of it.
Let me say that. What was I going to say? This has just gone so quick. I swear, the time has just flown.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot to edit out anyway. But nonetheless, breaking down a lot of the boxed ideologies, which is what I talk about a lot. You'll hear me say it a lot anyway. Breaking down a lot of those boxed ideologies is mainly what this is really about. The expansion of awareness is seeing the widespread to validate each and every individual's reality. That like I said, if someone does their thirst, if someone has, for example, first, if someone has their first therapy session, as an example, and let's say they haven't been able to afford it or they've had fears in going to it, that to me is something to validate and support and be seen. That's one example out of the many. Someone cooks their first meal and they try to cook and they learn how to cook. That is worthy of being seen, heard, and validated and supported. Driving. You talked about driver's license as well, my friend. Driving is terrifying. I've had this conversation online before when people like to say, and you'll be able to validate this, when people say things like, it's not that hard. It's really not. It's pretty easy. Driving is terrifying. It is terrifying. It is terrifying for a lot of people. And for someone that is afraid of it, that just got their license, to some people it's like, yay, you just got your license. That's great. No. If they have done it through the fear and the anxiety and the limiting beliefs and the mindset, because we all know what it is to experience limiting beliefs and tough mindsets that try to stop you from doing things or make it 10 times harder for you to do it. If someone has just gotten that through all of that, that deserves to be recognized and validated and seen and supported. Go out for dinner. Stay at home and watch your favorite movie, whatever it is. It deserves to be acknowledged.
Yeah.
It deserves it.
Yes.
Because that's really what it is. To climb a mountain, right, for what it feels like. It feels like climbing a mountain when we do things that are met with so much resistance. To get to the top, and to be like, oh my gosh, I just did that. I felt that when I completed my diplomas. I was thinking to myself, I just did that. I cannot believe it. And still to this day, I cannot believe it. I cannot believe that I finished them. But to other people, they potentially, I say potentially, might just see it as a their own versions of seeing it.
Mhm.
And some of the ways that people have gone about it, just some, I can see to them it's a bit like a yeah, okay, kind of thing. And that's fine. That's their choice at the end of the day. But as a human being that wants to be heard, seen, and validated just like everyone else, I knew what it took for me to get there. So yeah, there's a part of me that's like, ah, I just wish I could be seen in this way of recognizing
Mhm.
just how hard this was for me to
Yeah.
actually complete these diplomas, how difficult, and how many times I said to Nina, I can't do it. I cannot do this anymore. I just cannot cope with the entirety of this and the expectations I feel, and including all the other things that I was dealing with that were being triggered from the past, from the education system. All of that was coming through. Like there was so much going at me through this entire experience, and you can't begin to explain it. And then when you get to the finish line, you think, wow, wow, Mount Everest, you got nothing on me. Nothing. Because I just did this. And you can see that, but other people potentially cannot see what you're seeing. And it's so difficult. It's difficult to just sit there and just be like, yeah, okay. Other people can see it as a yeah, okay, but it's so much more to me. So
Yeah.
much more. And I
Yeah.
always think of that when I think of other people's milestones and other people's steps that they take, no matter what it is, brushing their teeth for the first time after a depressive episode. I see it as something that needs to be acknowledged because you know how difficult it can be to get there mentally
Yeah.
in that state more than
Yeah.
physically, but mentally, the absolute drive that you need sometimes to pull yourself out of bed. My damn, it's a
Yes.
full, as I said, Mount Everest ain't got nothing on depression. You know that song, Mount Everest ain't got shite on me.
Yes, it's a great
That's what
song.
it's
I
all
love
about.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think my entire, because I'm trying to land my plane as much as I can. My point in saying what I'm saying is just to bring about that our we're limiting ourselves. We have been for a long time in only creating a boxed ideology of what is worthy and what should be seen, heard, and validated. And honestly, it really just invalidates all the things that human beings do, all the amazing things that people do, and even just amazing. You know, people put a label on that and say, well, amazing has to be something big and out there. What do they do for humanity, kind of thing? But it's kind of like, wait a second, there's so much to this. What do they do for themselves? You know, what have they been doing for themselves? What do they do for others as well? You know, what do they do for their pets? It's just kind of like broadening it, widening it to
Yes.
a massive, massive opening to allow a lot of things to be seen. That's our point here.
Yeah.
A lot of things, not just from our awareness, because, you know, marriage, house,
Kids.
education, children. Can you add anything? Is there
Driver's
anything else I can think
license.
of? Drivers.
Being able to drink.
Being able to drink, having sex for the first
Retirement.
time. Because we talked about that in the last episode. That whole thing is like that whole thing being celebrated is a
Yeah.
whole different level.
Yeah.
But all those things, they're such a tiny, tiny thing. Yet we have over 8 billion people in the world, I think. And you think that small box caters for everyone or is validating for everyone?
No. Not at all.
Oh my God. No, come on, people. And again, just my last little thing, just to, again, land my second plane. Everyone wants to be heard, seen, and validated. And in order for us to heal, that has to be the front, that has to be the forefront. Because it's the one thing that I find stops the healing process, but it stops humanity from moving forward because no one feels like they should be seen. No one feels like they're important. No one feels like they're loved. It's just the issue. It is the continuing problem in so many human
Yeah.
cycles that have been created. Plane landed.
But yes, we're definitely going to celebrate. We're going to celebrate when we meet in Australia. We're going to celebrate when we travel, when we achieve all the things we wish to achieve, when we get out of bed in the morning, and we're going to make our lives and who we are an act of celebration. And I'm just so happy and excited to do that with you, my beautiful friend, Ashley, and also with all of you guys listening. So yes, I think we are going to pick up. I mean, the conversations never really end because, like Ashley said, everything flows into and out of one another. But we're gonna park our planes, land our planes here for now, and
we're parking them right now. They've landed. We're parking them.
Yes, we're waiting for everybody to get up and get their bags.
Oh my gosh!
Join us. How was your flight? How was your flight this time around? I don't remember.
The speaker, Nina. Like,
yes.
Thank you all for joining Nina's Wisdom Craft.
Thank you for joining the Daily Humans. What did I want to say? I completely forgot.
We're going to end our podcast like we're on a plane.
Thank you for joining. And no. Let me do it again. Thank you for flying with the Daily Humans podcast. We see you again. We hope to see you again next week. Goodbye.
Bye-bye, friends.
Bye-bye, guys.